One.
Today we're going to be using Photoshop CC to create an Andy Warhol style Four Faces Photoshop project. The tools that you're going to use within this project are the cropping tool, the canvas resizing tool and how that's different than an image resizing, the square Marquee Select and some of the settings you can change on that, simple copy and paste, working with your layers, changing some filters on those layers, as well as having options with your history tool to undo anything that you need to undo. Over here on the right side, if you're not familiar with Andy Warhol style, it usually takes an image, generally a photograph or a portrait of someone, and will apply 4 different effects to it, duplicating that around. This is an example of 4 of them kind of arranged the way that we're going to do for this project. So to start with this, if you have not already gone online and gotten an image of someone, it doesn't matter who it is, but you're generally going to want to work with their face. So it should be that style of photograph. Download that and download as large of a version of that photo as you can. Make sure it's either a PNG or a JPEG style of photo. Then we're going to go to Adobe and the Adobe Creative Cloud folder and scroll down to Photoshop CC 2018. Now, if you've already opened up Photoshop, it should open eventually right to this screen or one similar to this screen. If you have not opened Photoshop on this particular computer you're using, it may ask you to log in. And to log in, you're going to click on the link that says Enterprise ID. Use your email address, and when you click to where your password should go, it should automatically authenticate you and eventually log you in here. So within Photoshop, we're going to go ahead and open up the photo, and I already have a high definition photo here that is a larger format, and it's got Logan here. And we are going to use first our Marquee Selection tool. Now, if you don't have this tool appearing, maybe you have the elliptical tool appearing. If you click in this little triangle in the bottom right-hand corner, it gives you a flyout. Usually, many of these tools will have 4 or 5 different tools kind of hidden underneath them. We're going to use this, and up here underneath style, generally it usually is under normal style, which will allow you to just kind of click and drag and select however you want with this. But we are instead going to use a fixed ratio, and we're going to use a 1-to-1 ratio. What that's going to give us is a square, so it kind of forces it to be a square no matter where I drag. It's going to drag it over here, and I don't quite like where that is. So if I click right in the middle, you'll notice it allows me to move my selection around. And as soon as I am happy with what my selection is, it's going to get rid of everything else that's around this as soon as we do our cropping tool. So I'm going to go to Image, and I'm going to select Crop. Now, before I move on to the next step, I need to make sure that this is still all highlighted. If for some reason I unhighlighted it by clicking somewhere, I can do a Control-A, and it will highlight the whole thing again. And I need to do a Control-C to copy it. I can also go to Edit Copy if I need to. And that takes a snippet of this shot and puts it into my clipboard. The next thing I want to do is I want to double the size of my canvas. And I'm going to go to Image down to Canvas Size, not Image Size, because that will double the actual image itself. It'll make the face larger. I want to instead give myself twice as much room to work with. So I'm going to click on Canvas Size. I'm going to change the dimensions to percentages, and I'm going to make it 200% on the width, 200% on the height. And then I'm going to change my anchor point to the top left corner, and you'll see what that does. As soon as I click OK, keeps the original image in the top left corner, and then does all the expansion of the canvas everywhere else. Now, my next thing I want to do is I want to take that original picture that I already copied, it's in my clipboard, and I'm going to paste it. And what that's going to do is add a layer that I can work with individually. Now, if you don't have this layer menu over here on the right side, you can click on the window option and go down and select layers. Now, I already had it selected, so it's already appearing for me, but yours may be hidden. It may possibly be just shrunk down using one of these expander buttons. Same thing with history. If you don't have your history showing, again, you can go to Window, make sure history is selected so that you can see your history. This allows you to undo anything that you have done. If you accidentally make a mistake, it's similar to Microsoft's Edit Undo, but this really shows me every step I've done ever since I opened the photo. All right, so now back to our project here. I'm going to go ahead and click on my selection tool here, my move tool. Do Control V, gives me a new layer over here, and it just names it Layer 1. And I can click and drag that layer around separately, and it will actually snap itself to the edges here. Control V again. I'm going to snap that down over here. Control V again. And if I did my math correctly and copied it correctly, it should just exactly fit together with no white spaces in between. Now, what that gives me is 4 different layers, or really 3 layers plus a background. But sometimes you can't manipulate the background. You can unlock it, and then it will turn it into another layer, layer 0 here. If you missed, I clicked on a little lock symbol over here. And that will allow me to fully manipulate these. And I'm going to do that using my filter menu. There's a couple of ways you can do this. I'm going to work with layer 0, which happens to be this one over here in the top left corner. I can just click on my different layer, my different filters here, and you can do different noises and distortions. And that's sort of the fun of this particular project, is it allows you to go through and apply some of these different filters. Now, I will tell you that if you apply filters on top of filters on top of filters, it gets kind of messed up. So make sure if you apply something, so let's say I do the distortion and I click pinch, and I say, you know what, I want to really change the settings of this. And sometimes it'll give me a little preview here of what it's going to look like. And I can change how intense or not intense it is. I'm going to pull it all the way in, click OK, and I'm going to say, you know what, I don't actually like the way that looks. I'm going to go over here to my history tool, and I can undo it. And that allows me to really work with these different filters and not mess up my final project. The other way I can do that is by clicking on my filter gallery. So rather than going through all these little pop-ups, I'm going to click on filter gallery. And it gives me sort of a preview over here where I can work through my different types of galleries. I've got artistic, I've got brush strokes, and it gives you a little preview over here. So let's say I want angled strokes, which makes it kind of look like a painting. And I want to change some of the settings. It gives you a little preview as you are working and adjusting with these different settings. So I want to really increase the sharpness and give it a big stroke length and balance down, and click on OK. And then it applies it. Real subtle, maybe a little too subtle for this particular project, but I'm going to leave that one there. And that was layer 0. I click on layer 1. I can tell from the little preview that that is this top right corner. Again, I can go into either my filter gallery, or I can go down and just use them down here. So maybe I want to try like one of my pixelate, maybe a mosaic. And I'm going to put this down to a real small square size. It gives me a little preview. Again, it's hard to see because I'm over here. Maybe we'll increase that a little. It gives me kind of a cool pixelation effect. Do layer 2 here, work through some of my other 3D or some of my other filters. Again, I'm going to go to my filter gallery. Now notice up here at the top, it's giving you your most recent filter that you used, or your most recent option, which is kind of convenient if you want to keep using the same filter or option. I'm going to this time go back to my filter gallery. Remember, I can do it 2 different ways. And this one, I like this one because it gives me some actual options here at the beginning. This is my graphic pen, and this has to do with what color I have already selected. Notice over here on the left side, I have green selected. So let's say for that, I want to do blue instead. Click OK. Go back up to my filter. Go to my filter gallery. And that was underneath sketch. And that allows me to, now you can see these effects are in blue because I went over and I selected blue. And if you missed how I did that, I'm going to go ahead and apply that. I changed this setting right here by clicking on that color and choosing what color I wanted. One of these is the foreground and one of these is the background color. So you really want to kind of work with those. So let's say I want to click on layer 3 over here, which is my last one. And I'm going to choose a totally different color here. And some of this is just sort of experimenting with things and seeing what they do as you apply these different filters. Again, the filter gallery, I think, is the way to go. Whoops, if you missed what I did there, I actually clicked on the first one and it just reapplied the last thing I did. I instead want to go to my filter gallery and go through and see, you know what, maybe I want water paper or charcoal. Maybe I don't want any of these and I want just brush strokes, and to bring it back to that. But if you notice, I have now applied a filter on top of a filter, so it's not giving me exactly what I want. So I'm going to go back, step myself back to my original layer 3 picture, and then I'm going to go into my filter gallery, start working through some of these and see if, you know what, maybe there we go. That one's kind of cool, and I can work with some of my brush strokes and the spray radius, really give it an extreme look. And there's my third one, or my fourth one. Once I'm happy with the way these look, I can go back and change a few of these if I don't like the way this layer did. Unfortunately, I did that way up here at the beginning. I could check mark that and undo that one particular step and see if it'll undo that one part of my picture. But that's not really the purpose of this. What you're looking to do here is to get a finalized photo.